we are back with more opinions. Same just as last time. If you haven't seen the last video, go look at it. But
Yes.
it's going to be the same idea.
Posted it last
We
week.
are going to respond to some controversial opinions and topics that you guys put in.
Over on Instagram. Oftentimes if I do like a Q&A or anything of this sort here on YouTube, I ask the questions on Instagram. It's just set up easier for that kind of interaction. So these are opinions that were sent in by our friends over on Instagram, and we made a part 1, which is on my channel, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't. And we're gonna try and like wrap up all of these opinions into part 2. So this video might end up being a tad longer than last week's, but we don't really want to make a part 3.
You guys are going to eventually get tired of our opinions.
Yeah.
The last one was great. You guys should read the comments of the last video. There was a lot of really good comments and conversation, so appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone
Let's
that
get into
commented, because I feel like they were really good comments. Everyone was really kind and respectful, and nobody was...
You don't get that in the opinion space these days much.
Right? I was really nervous, to be honest. Thank you for being here. If you are new to my channel, which I know there are some new faces here, my name is Kim. This is my husband, Daryl. We have been married for over 3 years. We have 2 little boys. My channel is pretty much just about family and everyday life. We are Christians and we are part of the Mennonite culture, so that is going to be the basis of some of our opinions and the way that we respond to some of these, so that there's no confusion there. But yeah, let's get into it.
All right.
Let's share some opinions. So we're starting out strong, right out of the gate. This one says, all the money spent on building the Ark, which is referring to the Ark in Kentucky. If you're not from America, there's a life-size replica of Noah's Ark from the Bible. A life-size replica that they built in Kentucky. I don't know what year it was built.
It's big.
It's massive. Have you been to the
Yeah,
Ark? Yeah,
I have.
I've been to the Ark. It's an incredible experience, but yeah, it's in Kentucky. So this says all of the money spent on building the Ark would have fed, clothed, and housed a lot of people.
I mean, yes, if you'd have took the lump sum they spent on that Ark, it would have fed a lot of people, but you gotta look at it, some of the other factors. Number one, the Ark has become incredibly popular. There's been a large amount of people that have viewed Genesis, the creation story, through Answers in Genesis, Ken Ham's ministry, that's what the Ark is part of. They see Christianity, they see the creation in a whole different light. On the other hand, there's a ton of people that are employed at the Ark. There's a lot of families that get fed because of the work that's done on the Ark. And I know for a fact that Answers in Genesis is very active on giving and charity work. If you don't believe me, go check their website.
It's brought to life something that a lot of people believe to be a myth.
Or
and
a story, a children's bedtime story.
Just a story, and this is a real life historical event, and it's cool. Especially as a Christian, I find it very faith building to like be able to like put your hands on something and have that story of Noah's Ark come to life in your mind as you walk through it.
If you ever get the chance, go visit.
Yeah, go
it's
see it.
Creation
It's
Museum and the Ark. You won't regret it.
It's a good time. Okay, next one. Feminism is destroying our country.
Oh boy. So feminism, modern feminism, I think is really detrimental to society. I think it started with a good intention, but it's been twisted now. It's breaking families apart. It's confusing the dynamic of the marriage triangle with Christ, husband, wife. I find it really sad that it's now more acceptable and more glorified for a woman to spend her life in a cubicle working for some company than it is to be a mother of children, to raise children the right way. I just think it's sad. I think motherhood is not celebrated anymore thanks to the feminist movement. But yet scrapping motherhood altogether, forgetting relationships, family, the traditional or biblical role of a woman. Not to say women can't ever be in the workforce, but to actively encourage sacrificing everything just for the corporate ladder. I don't think it's good for society.
Someone else had thrown in the comment that their unpopular opinion was that women should never have been given the right to vote. And so I guess kind of just tying both of those opinions together. So I think it's great that women were given the right to vote. We are, human beings, and we have value and worth. And I think in, I guess, the dark ages, women weren't seen as having worth of any kind. I do think the vigor behind trying to pass that so that women could have the right to vote, it just kickstarted this whole feminism thing. And I always think about it for myself. Like, it's easy sometimes when someone asks me, like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm just a mom. And I'm like, I'm not just a mom. It's the most important thing, because I could have the most important career out there. And the day that I die, I am replaceable at that job, but I am never replaceable in my home. And that kind of keeps me grounded a little bit against the whole movement of feminism, as I remind myself that I'm valuable here and I am irreplaceable here. And I am replaceable in the workforce.
The biblical roles for men and women, if you follow those, you'll find out at the end of your life that's what really mattered.
I'm not saying that it's not important. Like, if you have a job, a career, you're not less important than a mother somewhere that's at home every day with her children. You're not less important. Everyone is called to different things in life, but if you are choosing to flourish in your role as a mother and a homemaker and a wife, I don't think you are less than someone who has chosen a career. My take. All right, letting a child cry for 10 plus minutes all alone because he needs to be sleep trained is selfish and not okay. Another person says sleep training can be okay if done with the right intentions, and then another person says it's never okay to sleep train your baby. So for every family, I think this is gonna look different in what works for you as a family. I know sleep training is not always, it doesn't always work with everyone's schedules. Some people, you know, they don't mind sitting up and holding a baby for hours on end at night. Other people can't function on that type of lifestyle. Personally, I'm a very routine person, and so when my firstborn joined us, I had no routine with him for the first 4 months, and I started to really lose myself in that. And so for me personally, it was very important that I find a way to help him sleep and have a little bit of a routine, have consistent naps, sleep at night. I don't do well on low sleep, and I was not a good mom anymore because I was low on sleep. And so for myself and for my family, I chose to implement some sleep help methods for my child. I don't believe in locking a child in a room and letting them scream for hours as a form of sleep training. I know that is done some places, and I can't imagine as a mother letting your child just, I can't wrap my mind around it. There are ways that sleep training can be done, and I don't like calling it sleep training. I've always kind of referred to it as sleep learning, because sleep is a skill, and a child has to learn the skill just like anything else. They're not really born with the ability to connect their sleep cycles on their own and help themselves fall back asleep. Once you're an adult, when you do wake up periodically throughout the night, but your body has connected the sleep cycles and you put yourself back to sleep. You don't even remember in the morning that you were awake. Children, however, babies especially, they have to learn that, and it takes a long time. And there are things that as a parent you can implement that can help that process along. I think there are ways that sleep training can be done wrong. I think there are ways it can be done in the right way. And I'm just saying, for us, I have found so much freedom in having my children on a routine, on a schedule. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about sleep training. And I know a lot of people have these massive opinions on it, but I think it can be done right, and I think it can be done well. And I think it can be, for certain people and their lifestyles, I think sometimes it can be a good thing to implement. I don't know, let me just say, on the whole sleep training front, just if you're a mom, just be kind. If your friend decides to sleep train her child, support her. If she decides not to sleep train her child, support her. Let's just all support each other. And I think, everybody's gonna have an opinion, and so there's no point in fighting. We're not gonna change anybody's minds. You have anything you want to add to that? I kind of just took it away.
Our sleep trained babies made happy babies. Once we
did.
finally got Callan scheduled to where he was able to kind of had his routine down pat, and we actually were proactive about setting a routine for him. His progression just exploded. He became happier, laughed more, progressed faster, I think.
Yeah, he was a different child.
He really was.
Okay, the next one says, thong swimsuits should be banned in public places.
There's a lot of clothing that should be banned in public places. Even more so since I'm a parent. It's difficult to see some of the, especially on beaches and stuff. I got little boys, and there's just some things that probably shouldn't be portrayed to the world.
I want to just protect my little boys when when I think about, like, as they get older, I think about taking them to a public beach. I just don't want to do that because I'm just like, they're so precious and their lives are worth so much more than being exposed to that. And I just thongs should be banned in public. Like you said, a lot of things should be banned.
Yeah, there's just a general lack of modesty, especially in swimming, warm climates and stuff like that. But
I mean, even around here, we live in northern Indiana, and even in the summertime, like just even in Walmart, it's like.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone in a thong in Walmart, but it's pretty close.
Not a thong, just inappropriate clothing.
Yeah,
because it's warm. Toilet paper rolls are over, not under. A beard is better than a mullet.
Actually, I have proof for this. The original patent, I think it's from like 1870 something, I'm not sure. The original patent for a toilet paper roll shows the toilet paper going over the front because it was cleaner, because if it's against the back, your hand hits the wall, same place somebody else's hand hit the wall. So that is factually correct.
Why do you know that?
I saw it on Facebook.
This guy knows an unreal and terrifying amount of random history facts.
Worthless information. I know
worthless info.
That's actually a word. That's good. That's good to know. We're honoring that guy's patent to this day.
Okay, good. That's nice. This one says you don't have to wear a head covering to be saved, and yet I still wear one because of my husband.
Yeah, the head covering thing is obviously, that has been a point of much discussion among Christian cultures across the world for years. The way we believe, like I said, we're Mennonites, so we practice Christianity under that umbrella, I guess. We would interpret a head covering as wearing something on top of the hair, with the hair. Some people interpret head covering as a woman's hair. The hair is the covering. Mm-hmm. We believe it's a veiling or a covering on top of the hair. It's a sign, a symbol of submission under God and under a husband or authority.
It sounds like in saying this, you're wearing one because of your husband, and obviously that is out of submission and respect and taking his opinion into account. And so I want to bless you for that, because it's kind of becoming less common, I guess, for women to put aside their own personal opinions and come into submission under the authority of their husband. And so, bless you in that. Women do not need a wedding ring to show the world that they are married.
I don't wear a ring. Neither does Kim. We take literally the scripture that says don't adorn yourselves with jewelry and tattoos and things like that. So we don't wear any of that. But I don't think it's a spiritual issue if you wear a wedding band. I know a lot of people that do wear wedding bands. I can't say I'm really strongly against it. We just don't, but
just some personal experiences that I've had. A year and a half before my child was born, and I was married, and I would be out in town, and in that time I had, I think, like 3 different men make the assumption that I was single, and
they felt bad because
they did, because I was like, I'm actually married, and they would look at my hand, and I would be like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't wear a ring because I'm a Mennonite, but I am married, and they would be like, okay. I think sometimes they honestly just thought it was like my way of like trying to put them off. Yeah, and so they probably went away thinking I was just trying to come with an excuse, and they're like, she wasn't married, she just said that. And then I noticed it even after that, when I was pregnant, I went to the doctor, and I remember we were sitting there, and the person like conducting our first appointment, she was like, and so you're married, I see you have the same last name, and I was like, yeah, we're married, and we looked like we were 15, and she looks at my hand, and she just goes, and I'm like, I didn't have time to just explain to her why I wasn't wearing a wedding band. And even now, when I'm in town with both of my little boys, like, I honestly look like a teen pregnancy. Yeah, I really do. I look like I'm like 15 with 2 little kids. Sometimes I'm like, man, if I could just have a wedding ring right now, that would be really great. It's okay to enjoy an alcoholic beverage occasionally. Oh, yeah. So that's also a big point of contention among Christian churches, especially conservative churches. Yeah. The Bible does not specifically forbid alcohol, especially Old Testament. That was the way of the culture. Like their weddings, like Jesus turned water into wine, right? That's how they did. The Bible does speak a lot. For every verse that it's in acceptance of alcohol, it has probably 10 against it and speaking the dangers of it. Everybody knows that, right? Like we all know the dangers of alcohol. Some people can handle alcohol, other people can't.
everyone uses the verse, a little wine's good for the belly, which is true. Medicinal purposes, alcohol has great medicinal purposes. There's a lot of medicines with alcohol in them. I would challenge you to be careful for several reasons. One, the places where alcohol is consumed normally are not good places. Just the type of people you're around, the type of the environment isn't good. You run into all sorts of other issues. The Bible says to stay away from all appearances of evil. I think that's one of them. Secondly, just because you, let's say, take me, I'm a dad. If I can handle my alcohol and I drink and my son sees it, when my son gets older, if he can't handle his alcohol and he falls into that trap of alcoholism or whatever, I'm responsible for that. So it's also the people around you are watching. You know, if you drink, it may be okay, but if your wife, your child, your uncle, your cousin, some people are very susceptible to that, to the dangers of it. And yeah, it's just something that's probably, there's enough of dangers with it. It's like playing with fire. You may as well just let it alone.
The way I interpret that verse, like a little wine is good for the belly, that's in the Bible. But I mean, I think of like kombucha, like that's fermented, and I think kombucha is really good for you. And I think there are fermented things that are like good for your belly and good for your gut health, and that's what the Bible I think was kind of.
And I think even like NyQuil has alcohol in it. Like alcohol is a soothing. They used to use it as a painkiller back old battlefields and stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those things to be very careful of. So I would encourage you to just be careful. I don't think it's. So I think there's a lot of traps with social drinking.
Posting pics of a baby in a bath and covering it with stickers is never a good idea. Just crop the picture. Yes. Oh my goodness. And this is so weird of me, but every time that like I take a Snapchat, even if I'm sending it to my sister and they're in the bathtub, because they're always so cute in the bathtub. They're being adorable. And so I always try to like get an angle where you don't see anything graphic. And if I don't get the right angle and I like go to like put something over, I'm always like, this is so weird.
Feels explicit.
It's I don't know. I wouldn't send someone a picture of me like that. Why would I do to my kid? I really like this one, and it's something that I've never really thought of. But she says her controversial take would be that the phrase, all I need is Jesus and coffee or anything, equalizing the two, is not okay. And I have never thought about that. Yes, like that's so good. Dogs are replacing children, even in Christian/Mennonite communities.
I guess if you can't have children, you want to get a dog, or if you want to have a dog, just to have a dog, that's fine.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Treating your pets as children, referring to them as your fur babies and stuff, I think it just kind of speaks.
Called out.
Yeah, right. I just, it kind of speaks to the.
I don't have a dog. I have a cat.
That's true. It's just
he
worse.
Is my baby.
He's not.
Okay,
anyway.
sorry. Go on. I interrupted you.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a wider. I mean, that's been in our culture for a long time. I know a guy that's a vet. And the stories he tells, like people spending like 40 grand on chemo for their dog. Yeah. You know, I grew up where if a dog was sick, you know, it was too bad, but you might have to put him down. You know, they're just pets. You know, they die and they go to nothing. You know, all you have is memories. But yeah, I think we got to be careful about equalizing children and pets. That's just.
I think that's good. Because like children have eternal value, and every day that you invest in raising a child, that has eternal value, and pets don't. I'm sorry that you have to hear this from me, but your pet isn't going to heaven. I think this is becoming a big thing. It's super selfish, in my opinion, to choose a pet over a child. There are actual instances where people will choose to have a pet over a child, and a lot of times it varies. A lot of times it's financial, a lot of times it's just they don't want the responsibility, other times they don't want to sacrifice their body and their lives. And it is at the core of that decision, it always comes down to selfishness. If you are struggling with infertility and you have a pet as a comfort animal, I am not referring to that situation. I'm just saying people that are capable of having children and they decide to put that off by getting a pet. And you don't have to have children. You really truly don't.
And you can have a pet.
And you can have a pet. I'm not condemning either of those things. I'm just saying there is a rise.
Yeah.
And this trend of having pets and like you said,
that comes from, especially you see that with young people where each of the partners has their own career. They don't want to sacrifice for children, so we're just gonna get a dog.
Yep.
I think that's wrong.
This one says social media is a waste. Screen time is detrimental on so many levels that I don't even think good content balances. As she's on Instagram responding to my
There has to be moderation in everything. There's a lot of people that use social media as a place to witness. They use a place to interact with people across the world. I think you have to balance it. I mean, there's obviously tons of time that can be wasted. Having your children access to social media all the time, there's a lot of bad things on social media, but it can also be a great use. But just like every other vice, it has to be managed. You can't let it turn into something that always consumes you.
From my perspective, I don't consider myself an influencer at all. I don't like that idea at all. But I have people follow me on Instagram, follow me here on YouTube, and the relationships and the friendships that I have gotten to be a part of because of that, I would never trade them for anything. And there's just this whole community. You can find people that are like-minded. I get so many DMs and messages and emails and people just, needing a friend, needing someone to talk to, just telling me, they appreciate just the fact that, I'm there and that, I share my life and they can relate to me at certain levels. And so in my opinion, social media is not a waste. It can be time consuming. And like you said, that's on you. If social media has become that big of an issue in your life, I would recommend taking a step back. Okay, this one says, spanking is not necessary.
So spanking has really become like this huge controversial topic. My opinion is spanking has to be done very carefully. The biggest thing for me, my challenge is I never spank when I'm angry. If there's any anger behind it, children can sense that. And that it doesn't accomplish what you want it to accomplish. It turns to abuse at that point. My opinion is spanking shouldn't be done in such a way that's abusive. There's some attitudes that can only be corrected through spanking. There's a point to where trying to reason with a 2-year-old doesn't work anymore. Mm-hmm. And I guess I can just say the few times that I've had to spank my child, it's amazing what a spanking does. If done in the right way, if done in a controlled way, mm-hmm.
A loving way.
In a loving way, it's this attitude correction. Spanking is not our first go-to by any means.
It is a rare occasion.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where if you're not going to behave at all and you were seeing rebellion and anger, then spanking is a great way to fix that.
A lot of people come from homes where they were not spanked in the right way. And those are usually the people that are like so against spanking. Even people that weren't spanked but came from like an abusive situation where they were hit commonly throughout their everyday life, I'm never gonna hit my child, and you shouldn't hit your child, but sometimes there needs to be correction.
And it's really not, I'm gonna say it's not that painful of spankings.
Right.
It's more, a lot of times,
it's
like
the fact that they're getting a spanking.
The fact that they're getting a spanking,
Absolutely.
At least for Callan anyway, it works that way. Like you don't even have to start spanking him; he's already like just wilted and the attitude's gone. We don't have any 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 16-year-olds yet, so we'll keep you posted.
We don't know anything. We said that in the last video.
But you wanted opinions? Here's the opinion.
I will say this: my dad has said that out of all of his 5 children, he spanked me the most. And I remember getting a lot of spankings, and sometime we should film a video. I should sit down and tell you guys some of my hilarious spanking stories.
She was the worst
I
child.
was the worst. Oh my goodness. Like one time, this is just one instance. One time my mom, I was being super belligerent. I was old enough to know, I was probably 9 or 10. I was being super belligerent. My mom was like, you're going to go wait in the other room because dad's going to be home from work in about 15 minutes and you're going to get a spanking, because I was just like relentless. I was being horrible, which is not a shock today.
Yeah, right.
But anyways, so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go sit in this room, and I walk through the living room and I grab one of the couch cushions, like a little couch pillow from the couch, and I went into the other room and I was waiting on dad, and I had stuffed it in my skirt so that like I had like a pillow. I'm like thinking he's not going to notice that I have a pillow stuffed in my skirt. And so dad walks in. I heard mom tell him when he walked in, like, there's a child waiting for you in the next room, needs some discipline. And so I'm sitting there like, he's not going to notice. So he walks in, and to this day I remember him looking at me and noticing the pillow. And his face, he was trying so hard not to bust up laughing, and he's like, I'll be right back. And I heard him go out to the kitchen and tell my mom I had a pillow stuffed in my skirt, and they're just laughing.
Then you really got a spanking.
And then he came in and he's like, I need the pillow. And I'm like, oh man. And then
you weren't a big girl either. Like you were like yay high when you were 10.
And then I got spanked. It's a Wonderful Life is not the best Christmas movie.
Oh, there is no best Christmas
There's
movie.
no good Christmas
I don't like
movie.
any. I don't think there's a single Christmas movie that I like.
Can't think. Okay, Home Alone, kind of funny, but you see it once, you've seen it. Women do tend to be more driven by emotion and a bit more irrational than men.
So, I mean, yeah. But that's
Obviously.
the beauty of the men-women dynamic. It's the reason that men and women make such a great pair. Men are analytical. They're above the shoulders. I've heard it said already. Men think above the shoulders. Women think below the shoulders. Women think in their heart. Men think in their head.
What's interesting is, as a woman, like, I know, like, when it's, like, the time of the month that I'm having my period, like, everything is so emotional. And I hate it because I can tell that, like, I'm so emotional. And I'm, like... And I kind of sometimes, like, I try really hard to, like, keep it in check.
You do pretty good.
But sometimes I'm so emotional, and I'm just like, I know why I'm emotional, but I don't know why I'm crying right now. Like, there's nothing to cry about. And Daryl's like, well, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know.
She got mad at me the other night because I made fun of the way she yawned. She had like a cat. Have you ever seen a cat yawn, like where the teeth stick out? Well, she did that, and I made a joke about it. And she got mad at me because, anyway, we figured out.
I was so tired and I was yawning. He's like, what was that yawn? And I'm like, stop making fun of my yawn.
Good times. Get married. It's a blast.
So now every time one of us yawns, we'll be like, stop making fun of my yawn. There's two very contradicting opinions here. This one says, essential oils aren't actually healthy in that if you use them too much, it's just as bad as a mainstream fragrance. And then the contradicting opinion is that essential oils are essential for my health. There are people that if you tell them any little thing that ails you, even down to the fact that my foot itches, they'll hand you an essential oil and say, this will fix all your problems. I don't know. I guess. Cool. I'm glad that works for you. I don't believe it. I use essential oils for certain things. I think there are good uses for different...
I think just like everything else, there's some people that are way too far on the one side, and there's some people that are just like, if there's anything close to essential oils, I'm never going to get close to it. Again, it's not something to form your life around.
There are some things that, you know, I use specific essential oils for, like, every time. Like, it's what works. But then, you know, I don't know. I think the idea that you cannot live without essential oils is a little bit like, oh, okay, yeah. Well.
And then there's those, you ever go to those people's places that have like 4 or 5 diffusers with different stuff running in them, and you feel like you're in a different planet, and you're like smelling, it's strange.
Her unpopular opinion is Christian influencers on social media promoting products from companies who have zero morals. So I don't know if you're trying to call me out here or not. I wouldn't consider myself an influencer, so I guess this doesn't apply to me. But here's my take on it. So what you don't see as a viewer is my email and my DM, my inbox. You don't see it. And if you did, you would be astonished at the amount of emails that are there every day. From random companies, and I do my research, and I walk away from a lot. I'm not saying this for like my own self-gratification, but I walk away from a lot of really good deals. I really do. And it's not always because of the company's morals. A lot of times it's because I don't agree with something about that company, whether that is I don't know, there's a host of reasons, but a lot of times it comes down to, do they jive with my brand? Is this someone I want to affiliate myself with? And I've walked away from a lot of really good deals from prestigious companies simply because I don't feel like I want to attach my name or my reputation to that product or to that company. But another perspective is that another thing you don't see as a viewer is the amount of time and energy and effort and planning and strain that it puts on my family to show up on YouTube and on Instagram. And so sometimes it's nice to have a company reach out and say, we'll pay you if you'll talk about this product or promote this. And you know what? Sometimes it's really good to have some compensation for the amount of work and time that I put in. And I know it's easy from like your perspective to look at an influencer and say, you shouldn't be collaborating with that company, you shouldn't be working with this company. But at the end of the day, this is something that takes so much of my time, takes so much of my energy, and it takes me away from my family sometimes. And so if I can have a little bit of compensation to help support our family, I'm gonna do that sometimes. And I'm sorry if someone isn't gonna agree with that. Just because I promote something doesn't mean you gotta buy it. But I will do that if it means that I can help support my family in some small way.
So when someone on one of the YouTube comments asked, what are your opinions on divorce? The way we would interpret it, the Bible does not condemn divorce. We don't have anything, I should say we don't have anything against divorce. Divorce is, the way we look at divorce is the worst case very last resort, cases of abuse, or if you just have a marriage that's just irreparable, if you've tried, can't fix it. Now the caveat to that is, though, we accept divorce. We do not accept or support divorce and remarriage. We do not believe that remarriage while your spouse who you're married to the first time is still alive is right. We take the Bible literally when it says that marriage vows are for life. If you need to separate because of problems, that's a whole other issue. That is difficult. That's hard.
Whew.
Anyway, well, that's probably enough of that.
I think we're going to stop there.
You guys made it all the way through the part 2. Congratulations. Now you know our opinions and everything.
Bravo.
But, yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on that, throw them in the comments. I'll try to read them and maybe respond to a couple of them.
Yeah, we're not going to make a part 3. I think we're done.
We're probably, this is enough.
We've enjoyed this. It was fun, but at the end of the day, you know what? We're all here just to have a good time on my channel. I don't want to start any fights or anything. So, you know, these are some of our opinions. Yeah, do with that what you will. Thanks for watching this video and for all the support on the last video. That was great just to hear. It's good to feel like there are people around you that agree and that haven't completely lost it. As someone who's thinking, someone that's watching this is probably thinking, well, they've lost it.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. You know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.
Maybe without me. We'll see.
Maybe without you. Thanks for being here. It was fun filming a video with you again.
I know, yeah, just some more.
All right, have a good day.
See you guys.